around October, I always start looking for our place to go. We've been looking at the Appalachian Regional Ministries, go up into Virginia, Kentucky, the poor areas of the country. And this year I was doing the same. I was looking at I had contacted several people up in Appalachia. And then one day I got this email from Louisiana Baptist Builders. And I'm thinking, how did they get my name and my email address? And that was kind of a mystery, but I contacted them, and, they needed help building a church in Walker, Louisiana. They had been meeting in another place, and the Louisiana Baptist Builders were building them a church. And finally it dawned on me several months later how they got my name and my address. Back in January of '09, I contacted the Baptist Builders for Edna, along with Campers on Mission and some other things, getting some information. So the only thing I can say is that that's where they got my email and my name from, back in January of '09. So for 3.5 years, it had been sitting out there. So, the mission team just kind of, this is where God is leading us to go, is to Louisiana. So, I contacted, I've got in touch with them, and finally they said, well, the one in Walker is going to be almost done by the time we get out there. So they redirected us to Watson Baptist Church. So I contacted, and talked to they have an interim preacher right now. So I was talking with Mr. Gerald Martin, to get shower trailers lined up, and where were we going to sleep, and all these other things, and everything fell into place. We stayed at I think it's Christ Community Church, which it's owned by the Louisiana Association, Eastern Louisiana Association, and Christ Community Church right now is borrowing their church while they raise the money to build their church. The people at Christ Community, they were fantastic. They fed us 2 nights, brought snacks. We went to church with them on Sunday morning because we were there at their church. They moved things around for us. The pastor's wife, said, y'all come on, y'all can stay in this, they won't mind. It was the kindergarten, 1, 2, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and maybe 5th grade classes. And they said, come on, y'all can move around. We'll move the classes. Well, come to find out, it was her mother and her cousin that was 2 of the teachers in there. So, but they were just real hospitable. It was feel free to do anything. We had keys to the churches. We had to walk through the church to get to the shower trailer. The shower trailer was provided by the Louisiana Disaster Relief. So, they were great. The Watson Baptist, who we did the Vacation Bible School for, they fed us one night. So we have had jambalaya twice. We have had etouffee once, excuse me. And when you pick up a crab leg in the stuff, you're kind of along with the crawfish and shrimp. But it was all good. Like I said, they treated us really well. And we have already told Christ Community Church that when they start building their church, we will be back out there to help them. And that will be like 2 years from now. But I would like to encourage all of y'all. We have tried, we'll probably keep like the same week, the last week in June. That way, you're away from school, getting out, and away from school starting. It's kind of a good time. So unless things change between now and then, it will probably be the last week of June next year. Anything can happen between now and then. But because of the heat, we're going to look for north again. The only saving thing is that it was just as hot here, so but we had a great time, and I'll let the others expound more on what all we did. But that's how we start this process, and I will start looking unless the Lord shows me something else, you know, like he did this year.
Well, like Brenda said, when we started this year and she found they contacted her about going to Louisiana to help build a church, we've always gone places where we were tearing something out and putting it back. Never been involved from the ground up to build something like this. Didn't know what we were going to do. Didn't know if we would be helping wiring, plumbing, building walls, you know, had no idea. So when we got out there, it was strictly waiting to see what they needed done and getting involved in doing it. And from day one, that's the way it was. They had the windows with arches in them like these that they had installed. They wanted them cased out on the inside so they could put sheetrock and finish them on the inside. So we had to figure out, first of all, how we were going to duplicate that arch on the inside like it was on the outside, and then fill it in 1 inch apart all the way around so they could do that. Once we figured out what we were going to do on the first one, the rest of them were pretty easy. Then they wanted a walkway 88 inches off the bottom rafter up in the rafters so that they could put insulation and other things up in the ceiling and down both sides from one end to the other. So we spent 2 days doing that, and it was hot up there. We had a nice little thing happen. They asked me if we had an air compressor and to run a nail gun, and I really thought they was going to get us a nail gun, and we told them yes, so I went and got my nail gun, the air hose, and they gave the nail gun to somebody else and left us up in the rafter nailing nails with a hammer. But God was good to us. we just kept on working, and we got that done, and we were fortunate. There was another group there from North Georgia, from Bowden, Georgia. This group of guys were there. They had 20 members of their team, all men. They came there strictly to do construction. Of course, we were there with 13. 2 of them were Titus and Noah, and then the ladies doing backyard Bible school. So we were separated with our efforts, but still we got a lot done. They were thankful that we were the ones up in the attic and not them. They appreciated that fact because it was hot up there. And but the last day we were hanging sheetrock. They had 10-foot high walls, which were a pretty good chore to do. But we did find that tab doesn't exactly like walking on rafters, especially when the boards are loose. And they don't hold there very well. But you do what you need, you know, what's needed right there. And it was a blessing to be involved with. And like Renda said, we were so fortunate. We've been treated good every place we've ever been. But never have we been treated as warmly as these people treated us. Sunday after church, they fed us dinner. Somebody provided supper almost every night. It was food that I wasn't accustomed to. It was good most nights, and some nights it was okay. It wasn't one of my favorite things. I was a little better than David now. I didn't stick with peanut butter and jelly, but I could have, you know, been just as happy. But you know, it was the food that they liked, and I was willing to try that. Because I will admit, on Friday night when Jim cooked that brisket, I really enjoyed that. That was my favorite meal. Breakfast and the brisket was my favorite meals. But when they did their survey, they went out and surveyed the neighborhood in the area where this church is being built. These people are starving for that church to be built. They told them that they're so excited about this church being built, they can't wait for the doors to open. They're just waiting for that church to open up so they can be involved in a local church. I think that's a wonderful thing to be a part of. Never have I been involved with a church building project, but I would love to be, involved in others. It was really a wonderful thing. This was the last day we were there. We were there on day 21 through 25 of above slab work. Now, the next 2 weeks, they won't have anybody there to work. That's just the way that goes with volunteers. But it has gone real well. And we appreciate all of your support. And without y'all, we couldn't possibly be out there and going, because y'all make it very possible for us to go. And we'd love for more people to get involved. Just think about, you getting involved in where God could use you. And you don't have to be an expert carpenter or plumber or electrician. Just let God work with you, and they'll find something that you're capable of doing, and you can work on your skill level and to your physical ability. And when you get tired or you reach that level where you can't go past that, you stop. They're not going to ask you to go beyond that. And there's one picture there where you see me with a wet rag on my head. I found out that when they soak those rags in that ice chest with the ice in it, and they give it to you and you put it on your head, it came right from heaven. When you're that hot, that rag feels real good. They told us about that. Me and David kind of liked that a lot, because it's real hot in that attic. But it was a blessing, and I appreciate y'all supporting us and making it possible for us to go. Thank y'all.
Well, I was the rookie on the trip. First one I've been on. Had a great time. Couldn't ask for a better bunch of people. You learn a lot about people when you stay with them every night. We had a symphony every night. Snore here, snore there, snore there, snore there. First night, Noah had a fun time all night long. But you know what? I fell in love with Noah and Titus both. Noah liked to jump on my bed. He loved for me to sing to him, and I just loved it. He blessed my heart. Of course, I was missing my grandbaby too. I guess he was my replacement this week. But he'd come in and pull his shoes off and want me to play piggies with him. And he'd just laugh and cackle. Had a blast on the construction sites. Like to overdone it one day. Got a little hot. They had to tell me get out of the attic, go down. But it's amazing to do something for somebody else. Had a little bit of it here. Me and Ed worked with Charles Freeman some during the week, and I've enjoyed doing that. But this was you get to meet the people you're doing it for. It was a blast, and I wish everybody could go. I think if you did, it'd change your life. That's it.
Well, I want to tell you that I've been on every mission trip but one. That was the one in North Georgia. I wasn't able to go, but I've been on every one of all the others. And this trip probably was the best, probably because of the people being so nice to us. I mean, they went out of their way to do everything they could for us. Such wonderful people in Louisiana. There's a lot of construction work done there. You see, I wasn't up in the rafters, Brother Ed and them, where the rafter area, but I was down helping out with other things there. You could just feel the presence of the Lord there amongst not only the people in Louisiana, the people that we were with, but among our group. It was a tight-knit group here. And they just blessed my heart. They really do. From Noah and Titus, they're wonderful children. And they blessed my heart, all of them. Noah and Titus. And that that Titus, I can tell you, he's got an arm on him. Because, boy, he could throw a football like it's coming out of his hand. Well, he could throw that ball. But I just wanted to thank the church for allowing us to go. And without your support, without your prayers, we would not be able to go. So again, thank you for all you've done for us. You're a blessing to us, blessing to me, all of you. And if you haven't gone on a mission trip, think about it, because it will change your life. It really will. It'll change your life for the best. God bless you. I love you all.
Paul wrote down in Philippians, "Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, who being in the form of God did not consider it robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation, taking the form of a bondservant, and coming in the likeness of men." Our Lord taught us this week a great lot of truth, and one thing is when we got there and we were in this old building, it was holy ground, I could tell. And I found out in Sunday school that the church was built in 1955. But the community, it was a thriving, beautiful church. It honored God, and that was holy ground they built it on. But the community changed. Blacks moved in, Hispanics, poor class people. People didn't want to change. They didn't want them in the church. And slowly, over the years, what was a thriving, wonderful service for God became a building with just a few members, struggling to keep it open. But they didn't want to open their arms and receive the community as it was. And that's not the way our Master shows it. He gave up everything. He changed his whole outlook, everything he knew, and came down in a mere flesh and blood to bring us love from God. And that church finally closed its doors. They couldn't sell the church. And the people that they finally gave it to the associational office. And God immediately started using that church again to glorify himself. People stay there. There's vacation Bible schools for the community there. There's a church there right now that has been built up in communities, and they love the Lord with all their heart. They're just excited, and they've already bought property, and they're staying in this church because the school system told them they couldn't use their building anymore. They were too big. They needed to get out and find them a building. Well, God opened up this building, and they are there serving the Lord, and it was the most fantastic vacation Bible school service. The energy was there. Just energy. And the Lord is there. And then over in the other church area where our men were working and we had Bible school, the same picture was over there. They were a group of God's people come together with a vision of love for people, and they're building a church. And the neighborhood, we got out, and I'm telling you, it's hot out there in the afternoon. We could hardly talk. We walked through the community and do surveys for them, but they'd ask us to. But the joy that's in that community is they're seeing God do something. They're not just hearing it. They're seeing people on fire for God. And it was an excitement. You could feel the presence of the Lord, even in an abandoned building, that a group of Christians didn't want to change. They didn't want to invite the blacks and the Hispanics. They didn't want to open up their fine little building for other people. They wanted a certain class of people, and that's all they wanted. Well, let me tell y'all something. If we get like that, I've been in a church. God shut the doors on it. 15 people couldn't support it anymore. That's a sad epitaph on Lucy Baptist Church in Denham Springs, Louisiana. But praise God, my Jesus taught us, and you would be so proud of Brenda. She went out there with just half a crew, and yet we adapted. You know, God loves to be boss. I learned that a way back 44 years walking with the Lord, I've learned. God says I'm boss and I'm going to be boss, and you might as well just follow me, put it aside and follow me, or else you're not going to go in and do anything. I won't go with you. He told Moses, I won't go with you. And Moses had sense enough to say, well, I'm not going anywhere without you. Well, that's the way it was in this particular mission ministry. We had to adapt and change and adapt and change and adapt and change from the word get-go. And sometimes it just kind of fell apart because you didn't know what to do. And we'd always ministered in a poor section, but this was not a poor section. This was an elite, nice, gated community section. And we had to adapt. And go fish was our theme. And at the last minute, God had told Renda to change the theme. Well, you know what? We were living illustration of what they were doing, but we were going out of our comfort zone. We were fishing. And we got to literally bring that to focus for those boys and girls. And I work with a group here in Albany, it's through Sherwood, and this group works with teenage pregnancies. And not just teenagers, some mothers don't want their babies and they're married. But anyway, the Alpha Center. And one little girl was sitting there on the floor crying. And I just moved over, sat beside her, and I said, honey, what's the matter? And she says, I'm falling to pieces. I can't do this. I'm upset. I'm nervous. And I said, well, why are you nervous? And she said, I can't learn these 10 Commandments. I can't answer these questions. And I put my arms around her and I said, well, God doesn't want you to be confused. That's not what God's about. And as she shared with me, she started crying. She's adopted. Her mama didn't want her. And she knows her birth mother. And it just broke her heart. But God let me share scriptures and things that I know that I've learned in the Alpha Center. Say how special you are. Your mama loved you enough to carry her in your body and give you to someone who picked you. They couldn't have a little girl, but they picked you. God put you there for them. And it just cheered her up from then on. She was up singing and happy, and she'd come up and hug me every once in a while. We were fishing for Jesus. We had to adapt. We had to let go of the comfortable things we know and just do what Jesus did. Love them, let God be boss, and see what God will do with willing hearts and servants that are willing to go. We couldn't have went without your support and your prayers and God's power and blessing. And I want to thank you for that. And this team, it's a powerful service to you, an honorable service. These people are honoring Christ and honoring you. And there was one particular lady in the senior class that I went to the Sunday school, and she says, I want to do what y'all are doing with all my heart. I am so excited to see mission teams come here. But maybe it's because I'm old. I really inspired her. But she is going to find a way to serve the Lord and go with mission teams. And this is something that God did because y'all let us go. We went fishing, and God caught fish for you. He caught fish for His kingdom, and you got blessed for it. I'm telling you, the people there were blessing and praising God for you and for what we were doing in the name of Jesus. So my challenge is to you, Jesus came down here and changed. We need to change. Whatever will bring Him glory, that's what we want to do. And if you hang on to who you are, what's your comfort zone, you'll miss some of the greatest blessings. This week I got to see little Noah bright and shining and loving and excited and communicating with us. And little Titus' energy ball, tired and going to sleep. Excited to do his part. He loved the Bible school. And he told one of the little boys, he says, we had this at our church. We've had this Bible school. And he was so helpful. And one little boy, mother was so terrified that he wasn't going to enjoy it because he was just around Titus's age. Oh, by the end of the week, she says, he can't wait to get here. He gets me up. So this is what it's all about. Loving the way God loves. And like our Master trained us to do. Just be willing to change. He loves to be boss. Thank you.
What can you say when it's already been said? I enjoyed the trip. I think it was our 4th trip out, on a mission trip. And of course, like has already been said, it was probably one of our best. Had a good time. Every minute we were there, we were thinking of you back home. And we done it for you, not for ourselves, but for you and for the Lord. The first day that we were out there on Sunday, like you've already heard, that we had the Sunday service there in the sanctuary, and they were doing their closeout on their Bible school that they had just had that week. And you should have seen the youth that were there, the young people, lots of young people. And it just brings joy to your heart to see that many young people getting involved in God's work. A lot of young families. We've got young families here in our neighborhood that could be doing the same thing. Had one young man in our Sunday school class. He'd had a hard time. Things had happened to him. But he gave credit to God and to this young couple that he'd been speaking with about God, about Christ, about how to be saved. And through salvation, he was there that Sunday morning. He'd missed a few Sundays, but he came back. Why? Because people cared. People cared. They went out, they witnessed to him, and showed him that life with Christ is a whole lot better than life without Christ. I'm not much of a working person when it comes to construction work, but I enjoyed it. I really did. You can work and you can have fun doing it. Nobody got hurt. A lot of people sweated a lot. About every 30 minutes or so, there was this older gentleman come by with a bucket. In this bucket, he had bottles of water on ice and the rags that you heard about, soaked in ice water. They put them on our necks, and it brought down our temperatures, and well, we just kept on going. I think we got a lot accomplished while we were there. Brother Ed, he was giving it all he had just to hang on to those rafters up there. And Brother Jim, David, I didn't go up in the rafters with them, but myself and Roger, we called ourselves the ground crew. We cut boards, we nailed nails, we hauled sheetrock, and of course we all got involved in the sheetrock business. And I don't think that's the job I want, but we did get a little bit done, and of course there's a lot of work there to be done, but every little bit of work helps out, because a lot of little stuff will soon become something big, something great. And our hopes and prayers are that the people that go to that church, once it's built, the ones that are lost in that neighborhood, will know what it means to be a Christian. Thank you.
I'm definitely out of my comfort zone up here. But like David said, we were the newbies this year, so they tried to prepare us ahead of time, but they really couldn't prepare us until we got there. But listening to Renda and Glenda for what they've done in the past, they've always worked with underprivileged children and in the poor communities. And so when we got there to these people's house, I'm like, wow, this house is awesome. I mean, what are we doing here? Why do they need us and everything? So, just as the week gone, I kept asking the same question, why are we here? But then on the last day, I got that answer. They hadn't had Bible school in 2 years. So, and then I look back thinking about the kids and looking at their faces. Yeah, a lot of them were church kids. They knew the answers. They were given the answers. There were some that didn't, and you could tell they probably, weren't attending church maybe, but the majority of them had. And but it was just, you could tell they were starved for it. They were wanting it. So that made the week, made it worth it. We knew why we were there. But like David said, knowing Titus, we really got to know them and got to know y'all. And we see you every Sunday, but it's like, hey, how you doing? But this week we really got to know our pastor and his wife, and that meant a lot too. So, and of course we knew everybody else from the pantry and got to know Glenda and Fred a little bit more. And so it's just amazing how the Lord can really work out there. And missed having Jeannie and some of the others, and Donna and Chris and Holly, and maybe next year. But I just thank the church for the opportunity to be able to go.
I was not looking forward to this trip. I was afraid I would be, really stressed out. Trying to keep up with Noah mostly, in a new environment and not Noah proof. And and I'm not saying I wasn't stressed sometimes, because I was. But I think that, I know that the reason I was there, I was still kept up with Noah quite a bit, and I didn't really have any personal encounters, just really personal encounters with any of the children or any of the other adults that were there. It was a blessing to get to know y'all, because usually I'm chasing children and I don't get to talk to y'all very often. And so to get to know y'all better was a blessing. But the biggest blessing, because it has not been our previous experience in church with Noah, to the way that as a church, not just, it was just more fully experienced on the mission trip, but the way that y'all have embraced him sometimes kind of leaves me a little speechless. It shouldn't be that way. My previous experiences in church should have been different, because, God says, when you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me. But, I'm just constantly surprised, and even in our own family, with people who are our blood, some of them don't love him as unashamedly as y'all do. So I think, that I was there just mostly for me, for God to let me see more deeply y'all's acceptance and love for him. So that's it.
Well, mine's a little different. I've been on every mission trip that this church has embraced, and they've all been good. Every one of them have been good. They've all been productive. I wouldn't have missed any of them for the world. This one, and one thing, on the first couple of mission trips that I went on, it was like, we have this team who is going to be a blessing going out and helping somebody else, because that's what our our Bible tells us to do. And, you know, Jesus left us with two very healthy commandments. He said, you know, love God with everything you have, and then love your brother as you love yourself. And if you do that, then it's also written in our Bible, I believe in there someplace, we studied it in Sunday school, where it says, you know, he who sees his brother in need and shuts up his bowels of compassion, where is the righteousness in him? Well, that's what this mission team is about. We take our abilities, no matter how small they are, how small we think they are, because we can take our very, very small abilities that we think we have, and when you add God to the equation, those abilities become enormous. And I've had a total change of heart about the way missions are done. You know, every time we go out, I think, well, we'll go out and we'll be a blessing to somebody else. We went to Oklahoma. We came back, went out there to be a blessing, and came back with a blessing. It's sitting right over there. And I think it's one of the best ministries this church has ever had. And it's talked about all over this city and 5 other counties. I hear it all the time. So we know that's a great blessing. On this trip, we go out there, you know, thinking that we can go out and be a blessing to people. And, you know, you come back with all kinds of blessings. When we first got there, we didn't have any idea what to expect. We hadn't been told a lot, but we didn't really have any idea what to expect. And I feel just a little bit ashamed because what I expected that we were going to find was so different from what we got. It was, like I said, made me a little shameful. When we got there, this very nice young couple met us there. It was the minister's wife of that church, and she told us that they were borrowing that church. We weren't charging them anything. They were borrowing that church because, and her husband was the minister, and this young lady was one of the nicest people I ever met. She seriously was one of the nicest people I ever met. And when I got to talking with her, come to find out that, I said, well, how old is this church family? And she said, we started this church 4 years ago. And she said, we had 4 people. That's what we started the church with, 4 people. So we went to church with them the next morning. We decided to stay there. Since we were staying at their facility, we'd just stay and go to church with these people. So we stayed there, and talk about a surprise. When we walked into the sanctuary, it was full. I don't mean partially full. It was full. And people just kept on coming. And talk about a youth program, they had it. They really had it. They had a praise team. They had instruments being played and all that kind of stuff. It was neat. And everybody participated in it, including us. It was a class act if I've ever seen one in a church. Great ministry. We got through that day. I'm getting ready to fix lunch for us. Oh no, y'all going to eat with us. And it wasn't like, wait till we eat and y'all come. They want to know, where are y'all? Come on. So we get to introduce the people to some Cajun jambalaya, which Brother Tab really enjoyed. He filled it up with ketchup. He has a new name. This is now Captain Ketchup over here. Because he eats it on everything. And no exceptions. He eats it on everything. But anyway, it was great. So we go out on Monday morning, and we felt like, okay, we're going to go find this church. Well, it took us until about noon. But we got there, and we pull up to this thing, and I go, oh my goodness. Here sits an 11,000-foot structure that they're building. And there's people running around like a Chinese fire drill. You see it on the pictures up here. They had great big tent set up out there, and the tent was so you go and register, write your name down, where you're from, what church you represent, and all that kind of stuff. And this church is being built by the Louisiana Baptist Association there with the help of nothing but volunteers. Nobody's been paid a dime. Prior to us being there, they had one group that came in there from Texas that consisted of 155 workers. 155 people on a mission team. When they got there, there was nothing there but a slab, a concrete slab. When they left, in what was it, 8 days? 8 days worth of work, they constructed that church. That thing came up. They put up the walls. They coated the outside of it. They put the roof on, including the shingles, in 8 days. That's a class act right there. So, you know, when we get there, we first show up out there, we thought, oh boy, what are they going to have us doing? Because there are people running around everywhere. Several other groups working there. One group from Bowden, Georgia, they consisted of 20 people. They brought 20 people down there to help them with that. They had them putting up sheetrock in what was going to be their sanctuary up there. And the first thing the supervisor asked us, now let me tell you, in my business I work around a lot of construction people. And one thing I've noticed that supervisors on the construction site are usually pretty grouchy. Not this guy. He was about the friendliest guy you'll ever meet in your life. First thing he says is, what can you do? We said, we can do whatever you point us at. He said, come with us. Said, well, we have this and this and this and this and this. He said, you know, what I really would like for y'all to do right here, we got a real special project for you. We need you to encase these circle head windows. I said, okay, so that's what we did. And he came back. He didn't bother us. He came back every once in a while, and we thought, boy, you're talking about a case of the tail wagging the dog. We have no idea what we were doing. It took us a while to figure out what we were doing. He came back and said, looks great. Have at it. You know, we got through. He came in and said, y'all do good work. I'm proud of that. So the next day we get up in that attic. Now the average temperature out there inside that building was probably, and I'm not exaggerating, I would say it was about, maybe at 12 o'clock, about 105 to 110 on the floor. It was hot. No doubt about it. It was hot and it was humid. Everybody walking around there soaking wet, you know, and they go about 10 o'clock in the morning, they go, come on guys, time to take a break. Go down and sit in the tent. The ladies in the church there, at the church that we're building that far, they done prepared snacks and cookies and stuff that everybody would love to eat. And anything you wanted to drink, wouldn't let us pay for a thing. No sir, this is on us. All you want, as much as you want. Go back to work at 12 o'clock, ding dong, they ring the bell. Come on guys, it's lunchtime. Go down there. Here they are setting up, the ladies at the church feeding us again. No charge. 2:30 in the afternoon, taking another break, blah, blah, blah. Work as long as you want to, a whole ball of wax. On the second and third days we're there, we're building this walkway so that they can add the insulation in the top of this building. Now this is if you've ever seen the performance of these French circuses, you know, where they're doing all that crazy stuff up there, that was us. We were walking around up there hoping we don't fall out, because if you fall on that floor, it's over. Because it's a long ways to fall. But anyway, you could sit up there, you could stay up there for an hour or so, and then you had to come down and take a break and rest and things like that. So we went home very tired, very wet. We get home, we get greeted by our ladies that's just come from Vacation Bible School, and they're cooling us down because they have created some water balloons and put them in the ice water, and then they throw them and break them on us, which we appreciated. They're cooling us down. It was fun. It was real fun. The other thing was, you know, we set a number of records on this trip. The first record was, I think, that these are the kindest people I ever met. You couldn't make one of them mad. They was the most appreciable bunch I ever saw. That Sunday night when we first got there, we had our block party. We went and got to see the pictures up here. They told us, well, there's this very nice couple that's going to let y'all use their house, their front yard, to do this block party. I thought, okay. So we get over there and we turn in this gated community, and these houses are real cheap, you know. And we pull up into this front yard, and I told Ed, don't drive on that grass. I don't want to go to jail. So we pull up out there, and the gentleman and his wife and their children come out, and I go and tell him, I go, look, I don't think you understand. We want to set up some tents and give free food, cook some food for people, and you know, have music and play games and things like that. And I don't think you're going to want that on your grass. Without hesitating, he looked at me and said, hey, it's just grass. He said, God gave us the grass. We'll use today for his work, and I'm sure he will restore whatever damage you think you're going to do. Have at it, brother. So we did. It's what I call jealousy grass. You know, it's jealousy grass. I don't know what it was, but I call it jealousy grass because I'm jealous. It's the kind I want in my yard, and no matter how hard you work, you ain't never going to achieve it. But it was class act, and they were like that. the 4 days that the ladies spent there doing vacation Bible school on the other side of the house in their backyard, when they left, I kind of figured, well, they'd kind of be glad to get rid of us. They had to cry. They didn't want them to go. Even the children, oh, we don't want y'all to go. Stay here. You know, blah, 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 the whole ball of wax. Exceptionally nice, you know, the whole thing, throughout every bit of it. The second record, I think, you know, outside of the kindness of the people and the heat we had to tolerate out there, another record that we achieved out there, I think, is on the way back. We got stuck in the longest traffic line in the history of mankind in Dothan, Alabama. Now, it would really test your Christianity. I mean, in Mobile, it was pretty tough. They had 4 lanes of traffic trying to get through a tunnel that was only 2 lanes wide, and everybody wanted to stop and sightsee and all that kind of stuff. And I never saw a policeman. It was absolutely the worst traffic control in the history of mankind. And I've been in some big cities. It was terrible. So we were about 2 hours and 40 minutes in that junk, you know. So that was another record, you know. But I got to tell you this. We also saw, you know, out there on the way back, we took a little detour because Renda demanded it. And we took a little detour and drove across Lake Pontchartrain, which is only 24 miles long. And when you come out of Lake Pontchartrain, you are in downtown New Orleans. So we got to see a little sightseeing there, go right by, and Kendra gets a picture of the Superdome, and, you know, because it's right there. But as we got to the left of downtown New Orleans down there, when Hurricane Katrina hit down there, you saw the area that was underwater, the poor side of town. It's still like that. You know, they have rebuilt very little of it. I mean, you know, it just is absolutely horrible to look at. Due to that, though, even this home where we did the vacation Bible school, they had damage. The gentleman said they had 110-mile-an-hour winds there, and there were trees falling all around the house. The neighbor next door had one through the middle of his house, and these kind of things. But the economy down there right now is very good because of all the rebuilding. There's a lot going on, you know. But I'll tell you this, for groups coming in all over the place, me and my inquisitive nature, I look at that church being built out there, and I asked the supervisor, I said, what do you do for a living? He said, I work for God. All he does is build churches. And he is paid very little, but he makes it. And he had a better attitude than anybody I've ever seen in a supervisory position. And he said, we just completed a church that's a carbon copy of this one for another one over there. And he said, you never know how long it's going to take. It could take 6 months, 5 years, depending on how many volunteers you got. But when you look at what they're building a very modern facility there, which I'm glad we were a part of. But I asked him, I said, let me ask you a question, Steve. I said, without the volunteer labor, how much would this church cost? He said, well, on paper, it was $1.4 million. I said, how much is it going to cost it? He said, the last one we had, what did he say, it was $1.48 million, and they built it for $712,000. $500,000 worth of free labor. And there was no shoddy work. They were doing it right. It was a class act. So I said to myself, ding dong, God just spoke to Jim. You know, here we go. If it can be done there, it can be done anyplace else. But that shows you what the value is of mission teams going out. If you want to know what the value of mission teams going out is, that's it. We went out there and was part of saving these people $500,000 to build a house of worship. And I think it's a class act. But you know, you find your missions where you go, even on the way back. Missions never stop. On the way back, we finally get through that fiasco at Mobile, and then we looked it down, and Ed says, my goodness, it's 6 o'clock. Perhaps we need to call our little ducks behind us here and ask them if they're about ready to eat. So we did, and everybody said, yeah, let's eat. So we stopped at a fast food place to eat, go inside, eat, come out. We're getting back in our vehicles, getting ready to go. And, you know, with Tab and Candace, they had the 2 boys with them, and, you know, takes a little longer to get the boys buckled in and for them to get ready to go. So I'm sitting there just watching, waiting on them, and all of a sudden, here's our shepherd. He just comes walking up the parking lot, and he says something to David, and then he comes over to us and said, he asked Brenda, he said, where are our box of Bibles? Well, they're packed up in the trailer somewhere. I said, why? Well, I need one. This young man over here I just met, don't know from Adam's half cat, want to give him a Bible. So we just cut everything off and went and found the Bibles. Got one out, and our mission leader over here goes out, and I don't know what was said to him, don't know what the situation was or anything else, but I do know this. God put it on his heart to make sure that boy had the opportunity. Your missions are where you find them. All you got to do is look, and they're there. I thank every one of you for allowing us to go. I'm looking forward to the next one. Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of heat, sometimes aggravation, but I tell you what, we had a lot of one-on-ones out there with each other. I learned a tremendous amount about these people right here. I think they learned a tremendous amount about us. And I'm going to tell you, for those 2 children, I had a good time with these kids. Really. Titus will keep you on your feet. And you absolutely can't help but love Noah. Because I'm telling you what, if that's not a tool from God to test our hearts, they ain't a dog in Georgia. Because I'm telling you, you can't help but love them. They're great. And you know, that's another mission we're going to accomplish before it's over with God. You know, God in the driver's seat, and we'll help him do what he tells us to do. But we're going to continue these missions, no matter what it takes. We will raise the money. We will continue to go. We ask you all to come and go with us. It's a blessing you will never get over. Trust me. Thank you.
I just wanted to tell y'all a little secret about our Candace, our lovely pastor's wife. They told you about the little water balloon surprise that the guys got. That was Candace's idea, along with Kendra. Yeah, he was worried about us corrupting Candace. But now, she was really getting into this. She had the bandana, and she wanted to put the war paint on. But we had a good time. The kids, that came up with, the kids wanted to cool off, so we gave them a water balloon fight twice at the Vacation Bible School. But the owner of the house, she was fantastic. We were so hot. She let us go inside and do the Bible study and all, and the singing twice. So we invaded her house, and the family was really nice. They provided a huge fan, you know. But we did, as you can see from some of the pictures that were flashing, on Friday we went to the zoo and walked around and got hot, very hot. So by lunchtime we were on our way home, back to the church. But I just wanted y'all to know that our lovely preacher's wife does have a streak in her. But I just wanted y'all to know, beware. We know where we went to Bass Pro Shop. It's one of the biggest Bass Pro Shops. We went to Sam's that just opened. We couldn't figure out why there's so many people at Sam's when we were shopping for food when we got there, and it had just opened. It was one of the biggest Sam's. It was huge. I think we visited every Walmart they had that we saw anyway. They had 3 that we know of. This was, like we said, this was not a poor area. It was a, fairly well-off area. But, again, Tab's going to come up and speak and close, and we appreciate y'all helping us with the mission lunches, the barbecue tickets, prayers, whatever. Thanks.
Well, Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 18 says, where there's no vision, the people perish. And our vision has to be really God's vision. God's vision never changes. To reach people. And a mission trip is like that. But a mission trip begins a year in advance. There's a lot of preparation has to be done. There's a lot of meals that have to be cooked. There's a lot of people who say, you know what, instead of going out to eat so-and-so or going home, I'm going to eat here because it helps the kingdom. There's a lot of prayers. There's a lot of good people who said, I want to join in God's plan. A lot of folks did a lot of stuff to help it, to make it easier for us. From the food, to the prayers, to the buying the tickets, the barbecue tickets, to Wayne Howell and his family, keeping my dogs, which is a big deal to Noah and Titus, by the way. Bigger deal to them than it was to me. But it's just doing things to help people. You know, I mean, because then I don't have to worry about the dogs. Or I don't have to worry about money because the church provides the money. And I don't have to worry about this or that because other people says I'll fill in that gap. You know, it's really just being the heart of a little Jewish boy. Say, I got some fish, I got some bread, and Jesus, here it is. And he stepped in that gap. Jesus didn't need him, but he was willing to step in that gap, and Jesus used him. And there's no telling how many lives have been touched. Everything's been said. The people were great to us. The sweetest people I've ever dealt with on a mission trip by far. You know, my wife was more concerned about this trip than I was about, is Noah going to be a burden? And really, the answer to that question depends on their perspective. Because Noah's going to be Noah. So if you don't have a right perspective, he's going to be a big burden. But they all loved Noah, and they loved Titus, and they did good. And Noah was very comfortable in a strange place. Tell you something, and I know the time, I know it's all been said, but I'll tell you something. I should never tell my kids. Never told anybody but a few people this. But Candace got pregnant with Noah. And I had all these thoughts about what my son's going to be. Way before I even has heard the word autism too many times in my life. I felt in my spirit God tell me that Noah was going to be in the ministry. Sounds odd. Still sounds odd to me today. So I start defining what that looks like in my mind. I have obviously a control issue than I realize when I look back on things. So I begin defining what that looks like. He's 6 years old. It looks nothing like I thought it would look. He might be 36 and it not look like anything I thought. But Noah has all these disabilities. And he has to be watched. Noah is dangerous to Noah. He has to be watched and watched and watched. But there's something about Noah that brings goodness out of him. And I don't say that's because my son. I think there's something about JD that there's just something extra. You know? I don't know. Other than Jesus, I don't know what to say it is. But our folks were great. Our kids. And I'm going to tell you, our guys worked really hard. They did really good covering up for me, making me look better. And David is a sharp guy. I mean, David's really sharp. You know, for a long time I questioned him. And Bill still questioned it. But David's smart, folks, and David's sharp. David's a hard worker. We knew the Jim and the rest of the crew, and Ed was hard workers. But David's sharp. And we're blessed to have David with us. And our whole crew. And our church family, our group went out and they got to see me get irritated a lot. And they got to see me not always be Jesus. But you know what? They still love me. And they didn't tell you any more stories, did they? Because they didn't have a good cruise. We have any bad pictures, because we have one rule, there's no bad pictures. That's right, I believe it. But anyway, our people did a good job. And y'all did a good job through prayers, financially, and I'll tell you what, I'll say this, and this is not trying to be funny. Miss Nita, who's not here, she saved me several times this week. Lord bless her. She made 2 things of chicken salad, and I wouldn't have got through some of those meals if it wasn't for chicken salad. There's some things ketchup can't cover. There was one night, this is kind of funny, one night, the pastor's in-laws brought us a meal. And the wife was telling us about the meal. And I said, is it spicy? I said, what is it? She told me, and I've never heard of it. I said, is it spicy? She goes, oh, no, it's not real spicy. I said, I can't do spicy. I mean, seriously, is it spicy? No, it's not spicy. She turned to her husband, she goes, is it spicy? And he started talking. It sounded like somebody all swamped him. And I said, I'm in trouble. Right? But Miss Nita with her chicken salad saved me. I ate chicken salad a lot this week. But everybody did great, and it was a good trip. And, my wife's glad she went.